Every year, so many games come out, there's just too many. It's nearly impossible to keep up. Inevitably, what happens is games fall under the radar, they just don't get the attention they probably deserved, and so we're going to shine a spotlight on some of them and give you a list today of 10 underrated games that just did not get the love they should have in 2024. I'm V-Berg. Thank you as always for watching us here at Game Conclave. I joked last time that I was going to start yakking about the weather if I didn't shut up and get into the video, and now there's snow everywhere, so I don't know if I brought some kind of karma on myself or something. Anyway, let's just jump into 10 more underrated titles from 2024. Lorelei and the Laser Eyes is a very strange vibes, puzzle, atmospheric adventure game. It's mostly a puzzle game, but it's very strange, trippy, really interesting. This comes from the developers Simogo, who also made the Sayonara Wild Hearts game, which was also very unique. But in Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, you're summoned to a hotel in Europe by a strange and eccentric man to participate in a dangerous game where you will be wandering around and solving puzzles, and you don't really understand why in the beginning. I recommend keeping some scrap paper or a notepad up on your phone to remember some of this stuff. There's a decent amount of things you're going to need to remember. Really dig the aesthetics on this one. The grayscale with the magenta reddish splashes is really awesome. This game's like an old school horror title, sans the combat aspects, just strangeness, exploration, and puzzles. It came out on Switch and PC back in May of last year. And next up we got I Am Your Beast. This one comes by way of the developer Strange Scaffold, who previously developed El Paso Elsewhere, another great game. I Am Your Beast is a fierce, frenetic, and most importantly, fantastic first-person shooter. Apparently we're doing alliteration today. Anyway, I Am Your Beast is violent, bloody, and kind of arcadey in a good way. It's got a fun comic book art style. Visually, it really reminds me of that old PS2 Xbox shooter 13. It's got a great soundtrack too. You play as Alphonse Harding, a retired secret agent who has been asked one too many times to come out of retirement. And when he finally refuses, the Covert Operations Initiative comes a-calling. So you'll turn their equipment against them, kill them with guns, throwing knives, sniper rifles, explosives, and even bear traps. It's not too long, but it's to the game's advantage because of the challenge runs and sandbox nature of it. It came out in September exclusively on PC. If you dig lightning-fast fights in your first-person shooters, give this one a go. All right, now we got Indika, and I'm almost not even sure where to start with this one. Let's start with the basics. All right, the game is developed by Oddmeter. They worked on Sacrolith previously, a VR archery title. Indika came out back in May of 2024, and it tells the story of a nun named Indika who is seeing visions of her past and present on a journey of self-discovery with very overt religious themes and imagery. The game will transition between these third-person realistic settings and 2D pixel segments. It's just a really, really weird game. It's dripping with atmospheric and immersive elements, and then it almost seems like at times the developers did everything they could to try to pull you back out of the game with these like very gamey sound effects and moments. It's just a really odd duck. It's one of those games you've got to experience for yourself and decide if it's just off its rocker weird, hilarious, or deep and impactful. If you want to experience something just truly unique and bizarre in the world of gaming, this is a title you should definitely check out. It launched on PS5, Xbox Series S, and X, and PC back in the second quarter of 2024. Alright, so next up we got Songs of Silence. This comes from Chimera Entertainment, a German studio who've previously done a lot of licensed mobile games, as well as a few casual and strategy titles. And this seems like a really big step up for them in terms of scope. And like I've mentioned in a few of our other videos, we keep seeing a lot of lately mobile devs stepping up into console and PC gaming, and they occasionally bring some really exciting new stuff, and that's how I feel about this one. It's got this gorgeous Art Nouveau inspired style art, fantastic soundtrack from Hitoshi Sakimoto, probably best known for composing the soundtracks to the Valkyria Chronicles games, Final Fantasy Tactics, and Final Fantasy XII. Songs of Silence is like trying to streamline lots of the aspects one would find in like a Heroes of Might and Magic style game into this mashup of a 4X and RTS package. You'll select between 3 factions, choose your hero, and level them up to gain cards to use their skills and abilities as battles play out via an auto-battler system. The game's aesthetics sucked us right into the world and events, and the fact that a map could be completed in just a couple hours was a pleasant surprise. There's also some roguelike elements for added replayability. So if you think a streamlined version of Heroes of Might and Magic or Total War would interest you, make sure you check it out on the Xbox Series S or X, PS5, or PC.
This is our final test.
May your hymn echo across the world.
Drova Forsaken Kin has 2 unfortunate things. First off, it was really overlooked last year. And second off, the name kind of sounds like foreskin. Yeah, the name aside, this game really flew under the radar, I think, for a lot of people. Much like Scald from our previous video, this is a total throwback Western RPG. I think if Gothic was made in 2D with pixel art style, this is what it would have been. It definitely feels like an homage to Gothic, and the creators have not been shy about their love for that series, and I think it really shines through. Drova is a 2D action RPG in a dark Celtic-inspired setting, which is really fun. I feel like that's something we don't get to see enough of, Celtic settings, that is. You'll create your character, join an exclusive faction, and this is not like a Bethesda game where you get to pursue every storyline with every guild and every faction. In this one, your alliances will have an impact on the story as you make choices in a world that has discovered the lost secrets of a fallen empire and how to capture the spirits of nature and make them serve man. This one can be tough. You'll really need to get used to the dodging and blocking, but there's customization sliders on the difficulty to allow you to change up those options if you want to tone it down. It came out on pretty much everything. PS4, PS5, Switch, Xbox Series S and X, and PC in October of last year. Alright, next up we got Alone in the Dark, and I know what you're going to say. Yeah, it had some bugs and technical issues when it launched. Was it better than Silent Hill 2? No. Was the combat a little wonky? Yes. But we still feel like it didn't gain the traction it probably should have for a series that's been hanging on by a lifeline for a really long time. And it's a shame because this is the OG survival horror series. This is the game series that inspired Resident Evil and Silent Hill. And we felt like Alone in the Dark really went back to its roots in this one. Yeah, it was eerie in all the right ways. David Harbour and Jodie Comer doing the voice acting and mocap work was really good. And we just felt like it didn't really get its fair shake. And then it was like a month or 2 after the game came out, it was announced the publishers had shuttered the developer Pieces Interactive. And it's just a shame in gaming and in anything, but in gaming we constantly see someone lay the groundwork for something that can become really good, and then it feels like they're often never given the chance to make good on that. And I feel like that's what happened here. This was the blueprint for games to come down the road. It was a promising one, and now it's an unrealized ambition. You play as either the private investigator Edward or his client Emily as they try to solve the mystery of her missing uncle in Louisiana, which is not a setting we get to see a ton of. So I always like to see unusual places in games. If you dig horror games with puzzles to solve, creepy, unsettling atmospheres, give this one a go. It came out in March of 2024 on PS5, Xbox Series S and X, and PC.
Have you ever talked to a doctor about your condition?
Visions of Mana came out back in August of 2024. It's a bright, colorful, and fun JRPG. It's kind of everything this genre I would say is known best for. It's bright, it's silly, it's wacky, but there's also some memorable characters and tender moments in the story. It was developed by Oka Studio, who were sadly shut down a day before the game came out, because apparently we don't even need to let games come out and have a chance to to flourish these days before companies like NetEase shutter their studios. But I did see that some of the developers found a new home at Square Enix, the owners of the Mana franchise, and the publisher of the game, who had hired them to develop this entry in the Mana series. This was the 5th mainline entry. If you're not familiar with it, it's a series that began back in the early 90s as a spin-off to Final Fantasy before being turned into its own franchise. In Visions of Mana, you play as Val and friends who will come to question concepts like fate and sacrifice. You engage in fast-paced action combat where you can equip elemental vessels to change your character's classes, proficiencies, and skills up. I really liked how the elements were also incorporated into aspects of the exploration. I always enjoy when something serves multiple purposes in a game. I think it really enhances the world building. Anyway, the soundtrack was really bright, fun, full of energy. If you're into JRPGs and a fan of Kingdom Hearts, Tales of, or Star Ocean, or you just kind of want to see what the genre is all about, I think this is a really good place to jump in. Visions of Mana came out on the Xbox Series S and X, PS4, and PC.
We're finished!
Dungeons of Hinterberg is a cozy action RPG made by Microbird Games. And as far as we could tell, this is their first game. They're based in Austria, which explains parts of the game as you are exploring the Alps. I feel like really good games, books, movies, comics, any media are really enhanced and elevated when the creators kind of take a piece of themselves or their culture and put it into the art. It helps to give life to their vision, and I feel like this is one of those games. You play as Louisa, a burnt-out trainee who's looking for a break from her fast-paced corporate life. And as we all would do, she heads to a beautiful alpine village known as Hinterberg to conquer its monster-infested dungeons and solve puzzles. Between using your sword, magic, and a summonable snowboard, you'll delve deep in the dungeons of this scenic vista. That is, when you're not roaming the town, finding new friends to ponder upon life with. I really like this art style. I always love visuals in titles with the cell shading. It just creates a really timeless aesthetic for these games. This one came out back in July for PC and was an Xbox exclusive on the console side. And I feel like Xbox has gotten really bad about informing people of their exclusives as of late. Maybe that's a video idea there, I'm not sure. So if you're craving a game that's a little action RPG, a little life sim, and a little puzzle solving, you should check this one out. It's like if the Persona game's bonding mechanics and schedule system was simplified in a cozy action RPG. And again, it's on Xbox and PC. The Thaumaturge is an isometric RPG developed by Fool's Theory. They've previously released 7, which was an open-world isometric stealth action RPG that I somehow missed out on, and I'm going to have to play it now that I've researched it. But the Thaumaturge was released on PC in March of last year, and then on the Xbox Series S, NX, and PS5 in December. It's set in Warsaw, Poland during the early 20th century, and if you know anything about that part of the world during that time period, it was filled with violent revolution, protests, riots, and all sorts of turmoil. Eastern Europe was just plagued with chaos. And that's the basis for the story. And real-world figures like Rasputin and Tsar Nicholas II can be encountered. You'll be playing as Victor, a thaumaturge, which is someone who has the power to peer into people's hearts and minds, as well as summon the salutors, which are demons from the aether. So you'll explore Warsaw in an alternate history setting, brimming with intrigue and tension, and use your mystical abilities to uncover secrets, confront demons, and deal with political intrigues as well as your own past. Combat plays out in a tactical turn-based system where you can summon and control the aforementioned demons. I always really like these alternate history stories. I think that's part of why I'm such a big fan of Assassin's Creed. It's just really fun to kind of see someone play around with real-world settings and time periods and people and be like, but here's the hidden reality you don't know. So if you've ever wanted to see something that's, like a splash Shin Megami Tensei meets Divinity Original Sin, give this one a shot. Not a lot of people seem to notice it. When it came out. As I mentioned it previously, it came out on the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series S and X and PC.
bullets fly every which way here. Was someone killed? Probably.
And last up we have Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess. This is a PlayStation 2 game, and I mean that in the most flattering way possible. This game is weird and experimental. It really reminds me of what was going on in gaming back in the mid to late 90s, early 2000s. You really just don't see stuff like this coming anymore from AAA developers. So let me explain. In Kunitsu-Gami, it's a hybrid between an action hack and slash, real-time strategy, and tower defense game, and it's done really well. The game's art and aesthetics are just magical. It's developed by Capcom Development Division 1, great name. It's the studio that has developed several Resident Evil and Devil May Cry titles in the past. And this is exactly something we need to see of more in gaming. We need to see big AAA publishers like Capcom that using those stacks of cash they make from their big giant games to fund more artistic, experimental, and weird titles like this one on occasion. You play as So, who's tasked with protecting Yoshiro, the maiden of Mount Kafuku, and she's there to purify the mountain of the demons that have taken up residence. You'll purify villagers and assign them classes, which determines their abilities as they help you protect the village at night when the hordes of demons known as the Seed attack. If you're into Japanese myths and art, you're really going to want to check this one out. I'd say gameplay-wise, comparisons can be made to Pikmin and Brutal Legend. And this game's aesthetics in terms of visual design and sound design are probably going to remind you of Okami. It released back in July for PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series S, NX, and PC. If this looks like a game you think you'd be into, think about picking it up. We need to show AAA publishers like Capcom and all of them that there's still a market for stuff like this. There's still a market to let their studios make weird, experimental stuff that they are passionate about. It doesn't need to be something exclusive to the indie scene. Passion projects should be able to be made by just about anyone. And I don't know how we get publishers to get back to this stage, but it was really fun to see a game like this come out again. Make sure you're subscribed. We appreciate all the positive comments and great feedback we've gotten from everyone. Please don't forget to give this video a like. Leave us a comment. Let us know if you're going to pick up any of these titles. If you haven't checked out the first part, link should be right here. And as always, thank you for watching us here at Game Conclave.